50 Shades Darker. It's a movie. So to get the minutia out of the way, this movie starts where the last one ends, more or less, with literature buff Anastasia Steele no longer in a relationship with billionaire Christian Grey. Then they get back together, and then stuff happens. Some of it's sexy stuff, some of it's not so sexy stuff, and some of it thinks it's sexy stuff. Yeah, this movie was bad. And the first one was too, but the first one did have a better flow to it. The novels on which these lovely movies are based are themselves rooted in Twilight fanfiction. It's tempting to say this movie doesn't know what it wants to be, because stuff just kind of happens. Two of Christian Grey's former lovers and Anna's current boss are the closest things this movie has to antagonists. I guess there have to be antagonists in this. I mean, it's not like the relationship between the two leads is engaging or fascinating enough in itself. We need these characters to just kind of come in. So, Grey's former lovers are played by Bella Heathcote and Kim Basinger. Heathcote really did feel like she popped up out of nowhere simply because your guess is as good as mine. Basinger, I would not make the leap to say that Basinger's character makes absolute sense here. But if I remember correctly, this character had been alluded to in the previous film. The only thing she really does in this movie is try to talk Anna out of being in a relationship with Christian. She's basically like,
"You don't know what you're getting into. Sis."
And that's basically her narrative function in this movie. Now, I will give Basinger credit for trying to add a little bit of subtext. She's clearly still got a thing for Christian, but is it a sexual thing or is she in love with him? I mean, it's not terribly important, but kudos to one of the main supporting actors giving this movie a little bit of subtext. I mean, God knows we need a little bit of intrigue and mystery and sexiness in this movie. Well, to be fair, this movie is a little sexier than the first one. I mean, there's nothing in here that is absolutely out of the norm sexually. Back when the first film was released in 2015, there was so much hype and controversy over the fact that it was a romantic film of sorts that heavily involved BDSM. Of course, the movie ended up being rather vanilla for something about BDSM. I mean, it's not even rated NC-17. And again, I would not say that this movie takes that any farther, but the intimate scenes here do feel sexier than they did in the original. So points for Basinger and for steamy scenes, but pretty much everything else is a downgrade. Dakota Johnson is still giving it her all. Jamie Dornan still looks good. Marcia Gay Harden as the mom is there. She's there to say mom things. She doesn't get a whole lot to do. This isn't a good movie. But like I said before, this is not a movie that does not know what it wants to be. This is a movie that does not care what it is. This movie exists only to take us from the end of the first movie to the beginning of the third movie. Now that sounds like an obvious statement because it's a trilogy and the second movie does that. But there's no real narrative pull here. Everything that happens in between pretty much has nothing to do with actually getting to that end point. It's all just stuff happening. Now, of the three antagonists, only one so far I believe is supposed to return, which essentially renders the presence of one antagonist here a little bit superfluous, and the other one absolutely unnecessary. But we have to fill the time, folks. So again, remember, the basis for these movies is a series of novels that is itself inspired by Twilight fanfiction. Now, I know I've said that, but keep that in mind when I'm talking about getting from one point to the other, with all the stuff in between not really mattering and just being there for the sake of being there. And I'll at least give the Twilight movies this. They were bad movies, but they were entertainingly bad. I know 50 Shades Darker has been ironically praised as a trash masterpiece, but this is not even a fun, bad movie. It's just bad. I mean, look at the soundtrack. Some of these songs aren't bad. In fact, a couple of them are actually really strong. Sia's contribution, Helium, and Halsey's Not Afraid Anymore, which I discussed in an earlier video, are both used very well in this movie. And they're both solid songs in themselves. Helium plays during a moment when Anastasia is a little bit indecisive, and Not Afraid Anymore plays during one of the movie's sex scenes, but it's not a random sex scene it's placed with. It actually feels like, it fits. Sia and Halsey also seem to be the only people who paid attention to what movie they were making songs for. Nick Jonas has a track called Bomb Biddy Bomb, which you can guess what that's about, and it plays during a scene that involves, well, you know where I'm going with this. But it's like, if that were just a bad pop song I heard on the radio, that'd be a little different. But it's playing in this scene that's supposed to be sexy, and it's unintentionally funny. I get that Jonas is, still trying to prove that he's not like a Disney star anymore or whatever, and, whatever, you do you. But this song, oh my god, this song is sexless. That's how much that song detracts from the scene. Then there is I Don't Want to Live Forever. I've talked about this song. I think the song is terrible, or at least I think the recording is terrible. And I don't think the lyrics are special either. And this song plays during a scene that is absolutely peaceful and lovely, and the two leads are getting along just fine. They're hugging and kissing and whatnot. And the song is not about that. The song is about an internal struggle. And again, this just contributes to the overall point of my review / rant that this movie does not care about anything that happens within. It just cares about getting them back together and keeping them together until this certain point, where we get the third movie, which God help us with whatever happens there. So to get to what happens in this movie, it's essentially Anastasia in certain predicaments and Christian Grey reacting to them, mostly in ways that are not emotionally and psychologically healthy or stable, and she sticks with him anyway. I would personally choose to read this as a cautionary tale about staying away from people you love if you know they are not good for you. But I know that's not the intent of the movie. This movie is intended to be romantic. We're supposed to swoon when Christian Grey is possessive beyond reason. We are supposed to delight in the conclusion of the movie. Looking at the grand scheme of things, the one bright spot here is that we are not treating Dakota Johnson like a horrible actress, because she's great. Let me explain. When the Twilight movies came out, Kristen Stewart became something of a divisive actress, and we learned from our mistakes because she won a slew of critics awards for Clouds of Sils Maria. She was very good there, and she's a consistently strong actor. So we learn not to judge someone's talent based on a bad franchise. So Dakota Johnson is certainly benefiting from that. She's also benefiting from working in movies like A Bigger Splash and, fingers crossed for, Suspiria later this year. So long story short, Dakota Johnson's great, Jamie Dornan's pretty. The movie is not very good at all for a variety of reasons. It only cares about getting from one point to the other, and everything else in between is a hot mess. Were you unfortunate enough to have seen this movie over the weekend? Let me know in the comments. Of course, click thumbs up if you like this video, and subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more content from me. Thank you so much for watching. I will talk to y'all later. Bye.